vice president at a leading bank, is a pro at crunching numbers. Unfortunately, his 10-year-old son is quite the opposite. Literally, the boy cannot multiply. Last Diwali, the boy came home from school with an extra large helping of math homework and asked his father to help. My friend took one look at the math homework, muttered some choice words about the teacher, fired up his phone and quickly logged on to Upwork.com, a popular gig work site. There, he posted his son's homework as a job, and then he waited for cheating services. Within seconds, giggers started bidding for this job. My friend now chose one Dimitri from Romania, and within the hour, Dimitri had done this boy's homework and received payment online. My friend was down a couple of dollars. His son was still a dud, but the homework was complete. As an organization's psychologist studying the gig economy, I am often asked by students who are millennials or Zoomers whether the gig economy is a viable career option. Let's look at some numbers. Giggers constitute over a third of the world's global economy. In India, the gig economy is valued at $1 billion US. Add to this 135 million Indian jobs, traditional full-time jobs that were lost last year to the COVID pandemic. A large proportion of these people now seek part-time employment through gigs. And finally, 4 million Indians who enter the job market every year. With so many job seekers and so few job options, it's very easy to see why gigs are a preferred career alternative for young people. How do these gigs work? Traditional employment relationships are dyadic. They are two-way between employer and employee. The advent of artificial intelligence disrupts this traditional structure and introduces complexity. It does so in the way of an artificial intelligence platform that mediates the relationship between employer and worker, who in the gig economy is called a gig worker or a gigger. Employers have now realized that they can take a corpus of skilled work and break it down into tiny bits and advertise each of those bits on the AI platform. Giggers who are skilled contractors now take on these gigs and complete them, usually online, for a fee. So in bringing these two diverse groups of stakeholders together, the AI platform plays a substantial role in this business model, which by the way is now triadic. It also wields the most power in this relationship, while giggers wield the least. Why? Giggers fall into one of two categories. The first one is the white collar gigger. These are typically the older people who are rich, who have finished their corporate life and are looking to stay productive on their terms. Think of a vice president from an IT company who's retired and now wants to offer yoga classes. This is a minority. The blue-collar workers, who comprise the majority of the gig workforce, are younger, partly or wholly reliant on the income from gigs for their sustenance, and moderately or less skilled. Think of your IT developer, your wedding photographer, or even your Uber driver. Now, why are gigs so exciting to giggers? It is because the artificial intelligence based platform does a superlative job of creating a perception in giggers' minds of professional autonomy. It tells them, look, you can pick up the gigs that you want, you can complete them in the comfort of your own home. If you want, you can pick up multiple gigs from different companies and do them all together. You have no boss, and that's quite relatable to some people who have had monster bosses, and no fixed work timings. So by controlling the pace of your work, you literally control your professional destiny. What is the problem with that? The problem with that is that contrary to expectation, you are not without a boss. You see, the artificial intelligence platform has embedded in it multiple layers of complex algorithms. These algorithms now become your new boss. These so-called digital managers are way more subtle, slimy, and manipulative than your worst possible boss from hell. You see, when AI becomes your manager, your performance data becomes currency. This currency becomes the input to the programs that are constantly 24/7 doing an evaluation of your performance. The irony is that gig workers do not know, nor can they control what performance data about them is being captured or transmitted. For example, a study in a Nordic country showed that a food delivery app was measuring the RPM at which giggers were pedaling their bicycles in order to deliver food to their customer, unbeknownst to them, of course. So the artificial intelligence algorithm operates on a set of rules that are invisible to giggers. Now these rules are arbitrary. They are changed at will depending on what behavior the platform wants to elicit from you. An Uber driver once told me that he was driving in a school zone where he was supposed to slow down. There were no students there and he was in a hurry, so he did not. Within seconds, he got a notification on his Uber driver app warning him that he's in a school zone and needs to slow down, and also that if he did not comply, he was going to get a penalty point. Compliance thus becomes the hallmark of gig work. One way that these algorithms elicit compliance from gig workers is through behavioral nudging. Let us assume that there is a Bollywood concert happening here and that a large number of potential commuters are assembled locally. Uber drivers in the locality will get notifications on their app encouraging them to drive towards this location. Those that do are rewarded usually by higher fares, especially at night. Those that do not are penalized either through bad ratings or through penalty points. The sad reality is that drivers never know exactly for sure what behavior caused them to be rewarded or to be penalized. So in traditional Pavlovian conditioning, giggers are lured into the app in a constant pursuit of reward. What's the flip side? They are always wary and suspicious of penalty. Now, depending on the context where you work, penalty points can be doled out for the most mundane of activities, such as spending a few extra minutes in a washroom. When the algorithm decides that you have accumulated sufficient penalty points, it simply just cuts you off from the platform with absolutely no notice. You know what that feels like? Imagine you're working somewhere, you go to your office expecting a normal day of work, and when you're there, you realize that you've been fired. And how? Because your ID card no longer opens the door. So what does all of this mean for giggers? The subtle manipulation by artificial intelligence means that you're online not when you want, but pretty much all the time. The constant fixation on the next gig means that you experience emotional oscillation. That means you go from happy to sad very quickly, and that wreaks havoc for your physical and mental health. Work-life balance takes a toll because nobody wants to be around someone that is grumpy and irritable all the time. Finally, when you apply for a real job, you'll see that organizations don't place much value on your gig experience at all, making it that much harder for you to find a real job. Given that gigs aren't going away anytime soon, what can you do to protect yourself? I have 3 recommendations. First, and this is my main message for you today, is to recognize the gig economy for what it really is: cheap labor at the whims of an artificial intelligence program. Second, if you do decide to be a gigger, articulate with as much clarity as you can your career goals for the next 5 years and the role that you expect gigs to play in them. This will give you an opportunity to determine whether gigs are right for you. Finally, test the waters a little bit. Try it out for a little while and be willing to change your career plans if gigs don't seem to work out well for you. Always have an exit plan for yourself, because you know what? The AI manager always does. Thank you.